I, like many of my generation, still remember the Second World War and the years that Britain was in the front line in a battle between two opposing ideologies. During that period, many lost their lives. Many lost their homes. Many civilians were maimed, and many, many more made sacrifices in order to help others. Key to the protection of Britain was the role of the emergency services, and as such, made its fair contribution to safeguarding its people. As a tribute here is a story of 4 ordinary people who lived through extraordinary times.
And my name is Rachel Barnes. It wasn't then, it was Rachel Pertwee.
Well, I'm Don Milburn, Donald John, but known as Don everywhere. And I was born in 1918 in Bognor.
My name is Ennis, but I was Ennis Moe. I then became Ennis Smith in 1944.
My name is Richard William Holsgrove. I was born on the 29th of April 1923.
I was born in a little village near Bruges in Belgium in 1913, and I was there when the First World War was on.
From the September of 1938, life became fairly hectic in London because we knew after Munich that there was going to be a war, probably.
They knew that they was going to have trouble because they knew Hitler would be making his onslaught on this country.
Well, in 1939, I was still at school, so I was really going through what my parents were going through, or Mum was going through at the time. She knew that she'd got teenage boys, which they did join up and go to war and to the Royal Air Force.
I know everybody was talking about a war coming, but I belonged to the Girl Guides, the Rangers, the older ones, and we went camping in Ashdown Forest, and the second night the whole place was alight with searchlights, and it was terrifying. Nobody knew what was going to happen. Even the cows went mad and they knocked our tents over. We had to go home the next day. We were told there was a war on then, and everybody was very frightened.
There was a lot of activity took place, in as much as building, digging trenches in Hyde Park, putting sandbags in front of buildings, to windows and that sort of thing, blacking out windows and all this thing, in preparation for what they reasonably knew, was certain to come.
And they were starting to recruit people to help the main fire brigade, because they knew that if there was an onslaught on cities like London, the ordinary fire service would not be able to cope.
At 11 o'clock on the morning of the 3rd of September 1939, honouring his obligation to defend Poland, Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain went to the airwaves to announce to the British people that a state of war existed between this country and Germany. World War II had begun.
The day actually war broke out on the 3rd of September, all the neighbours rushed into my mother's house, took all the blankets off the bed, put them all in a tub of water.
A more inhuman thing has come amongst us. Gas. We
Because
must
it was
be
feared
prepared.
the first thing that would happen would be a gas attack.
The function of the respirator is to ensure that no poison or gas-laden air can reach the
And
throat.
then Dad started digging around, building an air raid shelter.
Splendid.
May I have one for my darling?
There was this feeling of insecurity, if you like, wondering what was going to happen. And then, of course, it did happen.
The Red Cross were asking for helpers, you know, and they came to the Girl Guides, and us senior ones that were in the Rangers, we volunteered to go and help out. We used to roll bandages and do all kinds of things.
You may be able to estimate the boon which the existence of proper medical and nursing services means to the wounded.
We used to go on the ambulances to get the wounded off the boats at Newhaven, take them to the hospital.
This picture again is of one of London's most modern hospitals. The VAD nursing staff, keen...
I joined the auxiliary fire service, and I was sent to a fire station, which was a school that was adapted, and it was called MS7. There was a great big yard where they could do training and things like this.
Very often used to get machine gunned on the way, because the German planes used to come over very low over the sea, and then they rose a little bit, and then they used to fire whatever was inside. And we had to sort of dodge the machine gunning, because they used to even kill the cows on the hills and the sheep.
Well, it was mainly all spent in, other than ordinary police work, was preparation for what was going to happen later, the war. And of course we had a big job of chasing up deserters, because if people were called up for service in their due time, they didn't go, it was the duty of the police to go and arrest these people, and they were immediately designated as deserters.
I wanted to go into the WAFs, the Women's Royal Air Force, but my father didn't want another member of his family going off to war. I would have thought, oh, perhaps I'd get into the ambulance service. On the form, it didn't ask your age. They were just prepared to accept you into the ambulance service, and I was 16 years of age. Mum cried, but I was going to still live at home, so she explained to her I wasn't going away.
When I got to the age of 17, because when I first went in the dispatch ride, I was 16 now. But at 17, they made me into what they called a junior fireman. They needed other people to support the more elderly firemen there, because there wasn't enough.
And all these are symbolised for us by the Red Cross, whether on nurses' uniform or...
It was mostly in the afternoon and evening, and we learned to put out fires and all that kind of thing. And then if we got a message to go down to the ambulances, because the hospital wasn't far from us, and to go in the ambulance to Newhaven.
I remember we had a lot of lads billeted with us from the Queen's Westminster Rifles officer training unit, and they were based with us for a while, but they were taken off at some time during 1940 during the Dunkirk business, and I think they were all killed. Which was very, very sad, really, because they were all youngsters. They were all 18, 19, 20-year-olds.
In May 1940, during the period of the Phoney War, Winston Churchill took on the reins of leader of the British people. In his speech, which summed up the feeling of the British people, he said, "I would say to the House, as I said to those who have joined this government, I have nothing to offer but blood, toil, tears and sweat."
As soon as that this country and knew that they was going to be invaded, and it was directly after Dunkirk, obviously, but they knew this, they decided to bring in the blackout.
Crevices of the windows must be securely covered. The outside of the windows should be boarded up, if possible, as this forms a protection from splintered glass.
And that means that in the evening, as soon as it got dark, everybody had to have curtains, thick curtains, so light couldn't penetrate out.
That was quite a job because we were in a big house. We had a lot of windows.
We were